Hello everyone, welcome back to another video on Keen. In this video, we'll discuss on how to install Keen using Webpack on version 1.4.2 and above. So let's get right into it. First thing you need to do is you need to first download and purchase Keen. To do that, you need to navigate to getbootstrap.com, go to the themes, then scroll down a little bit to the popular section and you see Keen right here. Once you found Keen, you can actually purchase it or live preview it. And once you've purchased it and downloaded the Keen's package, it will look something like this. And all you need to do is unzip it and get right into the folder, and you'll be welcomed by three main folders, which is our design, doc, and theme. Design is where we keep our sketch file, where you can just use our designs to maybe create different previews for your project. And our docs folder is where we keep our official documentation. And theme is where we have all of Keen's demos. So let's go back into our documentation first and open up our docs.html to have a look at our documentation. So in this video, we'll be discussing on how you can install Keen using Webpack, and also on Keen's version 1.4.2 and above. So once you're in our documentation folder, go to Webpack, and you see a quick start menu on how to install Keen using Webpack. It's actually really simple, so let's get into it. First thing you do is download the latest theme source from the marketplace, which is Get Bootstrap, and also download and install Node.js if you haven't already. So just click on the link. You can either choose Windows or Mac and just install it on the computer. Once you've done that, we then need to install npm and yarn. And just the list is right there. And how to do that, you need to navigate to the theme folder, like right here. Go back to your theme and maybe select a demo that you want. In this example, we will go with demo 1. And then in here, select tools and type in CMD. This is a shortcut for you to open the command prompt with the path already preset. If you're using a Mac, you need to open up your terminal and then navigate to this path. And once you're in here, you then need to install npm and yarn. All you have to do is copy this, paste it here, and then run it. However, if you already have npm and yarn installed on your computer, you don't really need to do this. Since I already have npm and yarn installed, I'm going to skip these two steps. But if you're not confident in the sense that you don't know what version you're using, or you think that your version is out of date, then just go ahead and run this two again, or run yarn upgrade to make sure that all your dependencies are up to date. But in this case, let's just go ahead and run yarn. And what this does is it's just going to download and install all of Keen's dependencies into the Node modules folder. And if you look into our tools folder, you'll see Node modules will appear fairly shortly. Okay, yarn has done its thing. So if you look into our tools folder, you see Node modules. So next step we need to do here is we need to run build, npm run build basically. So let's go ahead and type in npm run build. And what this does is it's just going to initialize Webpack and start building Keen's demo. And which demo are we building? Well, if you look into our folder, we're actually in demo 1, therefore it's building demo 1. And yep, it's done. So if you go to demo 1, you see a dist folder appear. Go into that, see all of Keen's files. We have the assets and all of Keen's HTML files. You can just load up HTML here, the index, and then have a browse on of Keen's demo 1. So basically, this will be it. This is technically how you run and install Keen using Webpack. It's as simple as that, and you don't really need to do anything else. But if you look into our documentation, you can actually also run localhost if you need to. But if you do not want to use localhost like this, like via Webpack, you can also use your XAMPP or WAMP to do it. But there are a lot of other options that we can use with Keen. So if you go to our build tools and go under Webpack, you see there are a few build tools or build commands for Webpack. Now, the first thing is you have a run watch, and what it does is it will just automatically compile and rebuild the SAS or JS files that you are working on as soon as you save the file. And then there are also other options here, which is if you want to build an RTL version, a production version, or CSS version, or a JS version. And what it does is it just builds the theme or the demo with either with RTL or if with production modifier, which just minifies all your assets, or if you just want to build your CSS files or you just want to build your JS files. So let's go ahead and try that. So if you have a look into our IDE, let's look into our theme, demo1 list, go to our assets, go to CSS, and you'll see our styles bundle of CSS and style bundle of JS. So these are all the bundle files. But if you want to run something else, for example, let's run a production build. So yeah, npm. So that's documentation again. We need to write npm run build and then -- prod. So basically, if you go to our terminal, do npm run build -- prod. It's going to do here, if you look into our IDE, it's just going to refresh this page with a minified version. Alright, it's done, and if you noticed, our screen just jumped in the background, and if you look at that, our bundle CSS is now minified. But our JS is also minified. So these are the shortcodes or basically additional commands that you can add to npm run build to customize your build. But there's also a build config which is located within the demo file under tools and then under Webpack. So if you minimize this and go to tools to Webpack and then go to styles or scripts, this is where you Keen defines all of the scripts that Keen uses and the main style that this demo uses. And also there is a vendors folder. In this folder we have a global.js, and what this does here, it just defines all of Keen's global vendor files that needs to be included, such as poster, tooltips, all carousel, bootstrap, and so on. However, in the vendors folder, we have also a custom folder where we have a custom. It's not really custom. It's basically plugins or vendor files that Keen uses that is not required to be included in the global global bundle. Like all this plugins here, like the Bootstrap, Morris, Block UI, and stuff like that. All this will be bundled up within a global bundle, and each individual custom JS file or vendor file here will be bundled up in its own bundle file. And the reason for that is we do not want to bloat the global bundle using, like, for example, all these additional assets that may not be required for the entire website or the entire project. So as and when we need this like data table, we will only include the data table bundle within that page itself or that screen itself. The thing is, we need to decide, like, where does all these things go. So if you go to, like, say, the global in the global JS file within Webpack, you can see that where is actually being deployed to. It's actually being deployed into plugins global and then plugins.bundle. So let's have a look in our dist and our assets and go to plugins and then global, and then you see right here you have a plugins bundle just for all the global files. But we notice there is a JS and CSS files, but we're only defining there's no extension after that, just because Webpack actually splits CSS and JS automatically. So for example, if you look at Toaster, it's actually requiring a CSS file and also a JS file from node modules. So Webpack will automatically split them up into its own individual bundle, like so. And then if you go to custom, you see all of our data tables, our float, Gmaps, and so on. So if you look in our where is our source, and we go into our custom, we see the data table float. So this basically is defining where it's going to, and then once it's deployed, it'll be deployed into your assets folder, and that's pretty much it. You can use it for your project however you want, whenever you want. So if you want to deploy your assets into, I don't know, somewhere else, you can just change this output to something else. Like, I don't want it to be in the plugins folder. I want it to be maybe in something like my plugins folder or something. Then you can always change this path to something else. Okay. So there are some other options here. Let's have a look like this. If you could see, look at one of these options. For JS tree, we also have an image or images parameter here. And what this does is, because some plugins require images, so we just have to define it where it's supposed to go, and it will just get deployed and compiled and deployed and bundled up into that folder. So if we go to our assets, now dist, and then we go to media, and we go to plugins. There's plugins right here, and then you see the file right here. So in this case, like, how do we add a new plugin in your project? Now first we need to determine how are we using that plugin. Are we going to be using this plugin globally, or are we going to use plugin like as and when we need to? If you're adding it globally, we can just add it in our global.js. Go all the way down here and then just include it. Say this is called my plugin, and then start including it, like require, and then the path of your, say, my plugin.js or my plugin.css. So it depends on your plugin. Also, it depends on where you get your plugin. If your plugin is just a downloadable file, then you can include it like that. However, if your plugin is in a package manager like yarn or npm, you can just run like this command here, which is yarn add, and then the package name could be like Bootstrap or something, and then require the package within it, like this. So let's say your plugin is within a repo, you can just require, after you've run yarn add your plugin, require say my plugin, like so. And all you have to do is just run npm run build, and it will then build all this. However, some plugins require you to initialize the plugin. To do that, you need to actually add like window.plugin name equals require plugin. The example will be this. It's basically adding or initializing the full list box. Or another option will be like wnum or no UI slider. You're just initializing the plugin like so. So if you need to initialize your plugin, you just have to do window dot my plugin equals require my plugin, like so. And this, if you need a CSS file, you just include it. Next is just to getting to understand how the Webpack config structure works. Every demo will have its own Webpack structure. So if you browse into our let's look at our photos instead. So if you browse like demo 1, everything here is all demo 1. So if you look at demo 2, go to tools, go to Webpack, and everything's here as well. So every demo will have its own Webpack folder with its own Webpack configuration, because every demo is considered its own individual project. So you do not need to select a certain project, like micromanage demos within Keen. All you have to do is first you find the project that you want, then you just drill into the project folder that you need, and then you work from within the project folder itself. And as we always recommend all of our customers, we recommend that you use Keen as your companion rather than your base project folder. What that means is, when you create a new project, you will create your project folder and path and everything like that outside of Keen's demos, Keen's package files. And then what you do is you then use browse Keen like so, like you just look at Keen and then you select a certain, like a few different things that you like say you like demo 1 for example, and you like this layout, so we work with demo 1. So you go to theme, you go to demo 1, and this is where you will start working your customizing your elements that you want to use for your project. So what you do is, once you've selected your demo and then you selected, say, I want to have this data table, so you find where this data table is located in the source, which is in the dist, and probably will be in the components here, Keen data table, and where's this, base and data local. So this is the file that you need to use. Grab the source and put it into your project. We will have a full video on how you can actually kickstart your very first project with Keen using Webpack and with GUP, and links will be in the description below. So just to run through how Webpack structure works. So we have within each demo we have scripts and style.js. Basically, scripts is just to run specific demo scripts, and styles is to run certain demo specific styles that are included from the styles folder. So where's that? So if you go to your Webpack and you open your Webpack, right, you see scripts and styles right here. Minimize the vendors for a bit. Scripts, as mentioned, is all of Keen's scripts that it's required for Keen to work, like utils and app and whatnot. And styles is basically the style, and where we get it from is from the source folder within assets and SARS and everything here. So it's only declaring this style.sars is because style.sars basically includes everything else. And then we have our vendors folder here, and it's basically, as mentioned, it just defines all of the Keen's third-party vendors. Custom is a separate vendor bundle, and global is where all the plugins that is required globally within Keen. So, like as mentioned, this is global, and how you add styles to global, or certain plugins to global. And if you want to have your own custom, like you want your plugin not to be in a global script, like you don't want it to be bundled up in your global bundle, for example. So what you can do is you can just create a new file within the custom and then define it as it is. And then of course change the path of where it's supposed to be, and then that's pretty much it. Just run npm run build and it will, Webpack will just build it. So that's pretty much it for Webpack. It's pretty straightforward and easy to use. If you're familiar with Webpack, this will become second nature. And yeah, I hope you found this video informative, and if you did, please give us a like, and please subscribe to us. Subscribe to our YouTube channel so that every time when we release a new video, you'll get an update. And please follow us on our social media, like our Twitter and Facebook and so on. And I'll see you in the next video. Take care.